the gases and liquids become indistinguishable. How much ever, there is a steep increase in pressure, but the volume difference is very, very less. The three critical constants which you need to know the definition is, first one, critical temperature on a particular mass of gas at different temperatures, and then he's plotted a graph. Thermal energy as well as the intermolecular forces are between the solids and gases. So solute particles will neither go into the vapor phase nor it will allow the liquid below that to go into the vapor phase. Hello my dear students, welcome back to the session 6 on the chapter States of Matter. Last class we studied about van der Waals equation as well as compressibility factor and its significance, isn't it? Today we are studying about liquefaction of gases. What exactly is liquefaction of gases? Here I have drawn a graph and this is called as Andrews curve of carbon dioxide. As I am explaining this, I shall tell you all what is the exact meaning of liquefaction of gases. Okay? Now, what is this Andrews curve? Thomas Andrews studied the effect of pressure on carbon dioxide gas at different temperature. That is, he took a particular mass of gas and then he applied pressure on this gas at different temperatures. Okay, so he took one particular temperature and studied the effect of pressure on the gas. He took one more temperature and kept the temperature constant and studied the effect of pressure at that particular temperature. So what he did is he studied the effect of pressure on a particular mass of gas at different temperatures, and then he's plotted a graph in which pressure is taken in the y-axis and volume is taken in the x-axis. Okay, you can see different colored lines here, isn't it? Each line what is there, or each line in this graph is at one particular temperature. So we'll see what exactly he did. Okay, first we'll see at high temperature 50 degrees Celsius and at 31.1 degrees Celsius, you can see there is a graph, just a line, just a curve you can see, isn't it? That is, as the volume or pressure was increased, the volume is decreasing, that's all. And at this state, carbon dioxide gas was only a gas, it did not liquefy at all. So what we are learning here is, as I am applying pressure, at what temperature the gas will start liquefying, that is, it will compress so much that the gas will start getting converted into the liquid state. Okay, so at these two temperatures the gas did not liquefy at all, and you can see there is just a curve like this, just a line. Okay, that is a curved line, pressure versus volume is there. As the pressure was increased, the volume has decreased, that's all. But it is a gas itself, it did not go into the liquid state. Now at temperature 30.98 degrees Celsius, what is it? 30.98 degrees Celsius, when Andrews started compressing it, that is, he applied more and more pressure. Initially, see, you have to read it like this, okay? The lines come from this end. The volume was somewhere here, okay? Here, blue color one you have to see. It is a little high at this particular pressure. As the pressure was increased, the volume is decreasing. You can see slowly it is decreasing. At one point of time, here you can see the red dot, the gas got converted into liquid. Okay, the gas, what happened? Suddenly got converted into liquid. And above that, when still more pressure was applied, you can see there is no much volume change. You can see a steep line which is going as the pressure was increased. Volume difference is not much. Okay, so this is a point where all the gas got converted into liquid. Okay, and above this temperature, you can see above 30.98 degrees Celsius, even at 31, just a small difference in temperature is there. The gas did not compress to form a liquid. It was in gaseous state only. So exactly at this particular temperature, at one particular pressure, all the gas liquefied, that is, it went to the liquid state. So this temperature is called as critical temperature. Above this temperature, okay, the gas cannot be liquefied how much ever pressure you apply. So what is critical temperature? It is a temperature above which gas cannot be liquefied by applying pressure. So only at this particular temperature, at one point all the gas liquefied, and the pressure at which the gas liquefied at critical temperature is called as critical pressure. So what is critical pressure? Critical pressure is minimum pressure required to liquefy a gas at critical temperature is called as critical pressure. Okay, and at that point there is a volume also what the the liquid occupied, correct? That is called as critical volume. That is, volume occupied by the gas at critical temperature and critical pressure is called as critical volume. Okay, so at this point it became a liquid, and then further it will stay in the liquid state. That is why you can see the volume, there is no much change. Fine. Okay, now we'll see at lower temperature, that is at 21.5 degrees Celsius, what was the graph, or how did the graph look like. Okay, you can see the red colored line. At low pressure, volume occupied was very high. As the pressure was applied, you can see slowly the pressure is increasing, the volume also is changing. At one particular point, that is at point B, slowly the gas started changing to a liquid. So this phase you have liquid plus gas, they are coexisting. All the gases has not liquefied, but the liquefaction process has increased. So you have gases also, you have liquids also, and both are coexisting together. You can see from point B to point C, there is liquid and gases are there coexistence. At point C, all the gases have been liquefied. Further, you can see how much ever the pressure is increasing, the volume difference is very, very low. You can see here. Okay, the volume difference, see the pressure when it was increased from P2 to P3, so much pressure when it was increased, the volume is only V2 to V3. You can see the volume difference is very less compared to the pressure difference. Correct, no? Yes. So that is because it is almost changed completely into the liquid state, and liquid state, after some point you cannot compress because the particles are very close to one another. It is already coming close to one another. With so much volume, it is completely in the liquid state. Okay, so that is about the liquefaction. Now when still at lower temperature, that is at 13.1 degrees Celsius, what happened? Okay, that is, you can see this blue line. At low pressure, volume was very high, slowly it increased. At one point of time, okay, from here to here you can see liquid and gas are coexisting, that the gases are slowly getting converted to liquid, and then you have only liquids. You can see that after this, how much ever there is a steep increase in pressure, but the volume difference is very, very less, isn't it? So what was the observation? That is, after critical temperature, at lower temperature, there was a state or you get a horizontal line where pressure remains constant, only volume is changing. You can see pressure is constant, that is P2. From B to C, pressure is just P2. Okay, but the volume, there is a lot of change, you can see. Okay, so at this point, what is happening? Liquid and gases are coexisting, and that horizontal line becomes longer and longer as the temperature becomes lesser and lesser. Correct? No, at 13.1 degrees Celsius, it's still longer. At 21, it is still short. At 30.98 degrees Celsius, there is just one particular point where all the gases are getting converted to a liquid. So, from liquefaction of gases, we get a area under the graph, that is this particular area. If you take this one, okay, this full area, if you take, it is, that is here, you can see here. Okay, this is the area where liquid and gases are coexisting, that is liquid state as well as the gaseous state is coexisting. And here you can see there is a steep increase in pressure. At this point, the gases and liquids becomes indistinguishable, and there is a fluid phase which is called as supercritical liquid state. So above this, when you can see lot of pressure is applied, small volume change is there, at that point we call them as supercritical liquids. Okay, now if you ask me, ma'am, do I have to study this graph? Yeah, I need to learn to draw this graph. Is it so very important? From exam point of view, it is not so very important. What they can ask is, what is critical temperature, what is critical pressure, and what is critical volume. Okay, and at the most they can ask some of the values based on Andrews curve for carbon dioxide. This was the graph which was drawn by Thomas Andrews for carbon dioxide gas alone. Okay, so I hope you have understood this particular graph, and also the three critical constants which you need to know. The definition is, first one, critical temperature, that is the maximum temperature at which the gas can be converted to a liquid by applying pressure. Above this temperature, you cannot liquefy a gas. Okay, next, what is critical pressure? It's a minimum pressure required to liquefy a gas at critical temperature. Okay, what is critical volume? The volume occupied by 1 mole of a gas at critical temperature and critical pressure is called as critical volume. That is TC, critical temperature, PC, critical pressure, and VC is critical volume. So I hope you have understood about these three constants as well. For carbon dioxide, what is critical temperature? From the graph, it is 30.98 degrees Celsius, and critical pressure was 73 atmosphere. Okay, next we are going into liquid state. All the while we were studying about the gaseous state. Now we are going to learn about the liquid state. So now, what are the properties of liquid state? Liquids have definite volume, but they have no definite shape because the intermolecular forces lie between solids and gases. Correct? No? Thermal energy as well as the intermolecular forces are between the solids and gases. So what happens is, they have a definite volume, but they do not have a definite shape. They take the shape of the container. Correct? And we are going to learn some of the characteristic properties of liquid state. That is, we learn about vapor pressure, boiling point, surface tension, and viscosity. Okay, so we'll go into the first property, that is vapor pressure. Now, what is the meaning of vapor pressure? For example, there's a liquid which is there. Okay, and now for example, we'll take a liquid in a container. After some time, we can observe that there are some particles of liquid which has got escaped into the gaseous state, okay, or vapor state, I can tell. So the pressure exerted by this vapor on the surface of liquid, okay, is called as vapor pressure. Or I can tell that pressure exerted by the vapor above the liquid surface which is equilibrium with the liquid is called as the vapor pressure. That means equilibrium means what? The amount of particles which is escaping should be equal to the amount of particles which is condensing. That is equilibrium state. Okay. Once slowly the particles will start vaporizing. After a certain point of time, the number of particles which is going to the vapor state is equal to the number of particles which is condensing back into the liquid state. Okay, and that point we call it as equilibrium state. And at equilibrium state, the pressure exerted by these particles on the surface of the liquid is called as vapor pressure. So I hope you understood what is the meaning of vapor pressure. Now what will happen if I dissolve something in this liquid? For example, I will take some salt and I will dissolve here. Some solute I will add. Now what will happen is the solute particles will come in way of vaporization on the surface. Okay, they will not allow the liquid below that to vaporize very easily, and due to which the vapor pressure will decrease. And more about this you will be learning in your second year in solutions chapter. Okay, so what happens when a solute is added into the liquid? The surface area for vaporization will decrease because the surface is now occupied by those solute particles also in between. So solute particles will neither go into the vapor phase nor it will allow the liquid below that to go into the vapor phase. So the vapor pressure only will decrease. So what will happen? Vapor pressure will decrease if we add any solute into the liquid. Okay. Next, if you have understood this, you will also understand the concept of boiling point. So we'll see what is boiling point. Okay. Next is boiling point. Now what is boiling point? Have you all seen water boiling? Yes, you all have seen. You can see the bubbles which is formed and you can see the vapors are continuously coming out of water and it is boiling hot. And what is the boiling point of water at STP? That is 100 degrees Celsius, correct? Now what is exactly boiling point? Now for a liquid, when I start slowly heating it up, okay, slowly there is particles which is escaping. Even without heating, actually at room temperature there are some particles which is escaping from the liquid. That is just evaporation. It is just evaporating. Okay, from the liquid state the particles will evaporate and go into the vapor phase, or it is in the gaseous state. Okay, it is just evaporating. During only evaporation, what is that we can observe is the vapor pressure is less than the atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure means the pressure which is there around us. So the vapor pressure is less than the atmospheric pressure. You can see evaporation and you cannot see there is some boiling which is happening. Okay. When you start heating a liquid, what happens is the vapor pressure continuously increases. Okay. And when the vapor pressure becomes equal to the atmospheric pressure, you can see that these bubbles are coming and it is started boiling. You can see the movement of the particles or the bubbles are coming about, isn't it? That is when vapor pressure is equal to the atmospheric pressure. So we tell that a particular liquid is boiling when vapor pressure will be equal to the atmospheric pressure. So the temperature at which the vapor pressure becomes equal to the atmospheric pressure is called as the boiling point of a liquid. So what is it? A temperature at which the vapor pressure of the liquid becomes equal to the atmospheric pressure. That temperature is called as the boiling point. Okay. So The temperature at which the vapor pressure is equal to the atmospheric pressure is called as boiling point. If you add a solute into a pure liquid, okay, or water you have taken, you have added some solute, usually the boiling point will increase. There is elevation in boiling point. Again, details of that you will be studying in your second year. Okay, so next what we are learning is there are two types of boiling point, that is normal boiling point and standard boiling point. What exactly it is? At 1 atmospheric pressure, boiling temperature is called as normal boiling point. At 1 atmospheric pressure, if you are measuring the boiling temperature, then that is called as normal boiling point. If the pressure is 1 bar, then the boiling point is called as standard boiling point. So if you are measuring the boiling temperature at 1 bar pressure, then it is called as the standard boiling point of a liquid. Usually, standard boiling point of a liquid is slightly lower than the normal boiling point because 1 bar pressure is less than 1 atmosphere, isn't it? 1 bar pressure is 0.987 atmospheres. Correct? So what happens is the standard boiling point of a liquid is a little lower, usually lower than that the normal boiling point, because 1 bar pressure is less than 1 atmospheric pressure. See, 1 bar pressure is less than 1 atmosphere. Thus, standard boiling point is less than normal boiling point. Okay. Normal boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius, whereas standard boiling point of water is 99.6 degree Celsius. Okay. Now, one more thing what we can observe is at high altitude, atmospheric pressure is low. Correct? No? As we go above, altitude is increasing, the atmospheric pressure is decreasing. So what happens there is the liquid at high altitude boil at lower temperature in comparison at sea level. So if we go to a place which is at sea level, okay, then the boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius because it is at sea level. Whereas if you go to a place which is a hill station, for example, okay, any hill station, if you go and if you check the boiling point of water, it might be a little less than 100, maybe it will be somewhere around 99.6 or 99.2 or 99.1 or just 99 also, depending on how high the place is. So at a higher altitude or a hill station, if you go and check the boiling point, it will be lesser because atmospheric pressure only is lesser. The temperature with which the water starts boiling will be lesser itself, because the vapor pressure becomes equal to the atmospheric pressure at lower temperature itself, because atmospheric pressure only is less. Okay, whereas at sea level what happens, atmospheric pressure only is high and it requires a little higher temperature for the vapor pressure to become equal to the atmospheric pressure. Thus, at sea level, boiling point is higher, whereas at high altitudes, the boiling point will be lesser for a particular liquid. Okay, so I hope you have understood the concept of vapor pressure as well as boiling point. Next class, we'll be learning about surface tension and viscosity. Okay, thank you, my dear children. Stay tuned, stay focused, stay curious.